Yeah, all through human history, people have been messing with their own heads, and that's meditating, that's taking drugs,
Yeah.
that's accepting beliefs based on the authority of other people,
Yeah.
that's hanging from hooks,
Right.
engaging in all sorts of ascetic
Right.
practices, that's fasting, that's being hypnotized, that's even hearing a sermon, even just the effect of sitting in a pew and listening to a sermon. Public speaking affects the heartbeat. You're just listening to this guy. If he's talented at what he's doing, you feel the charisma. At some point, if you are even sympathetic at all, you almost want to get on board with him, just because that's the power of public speaking. That in itself is mind altering.
Yeah.
It's important to look through those processes if you're interested in truth or what the human experience is, but also recognize the suggestibility in the mind, the gullibility of the mind.
Yeah.
And that should give you a good kind of doubt, a good kind of skepticism.
The fact that we even think there's a truth, because trying to define a truth is almost like trying to define a circle, you know? It's almost like the belief is a structure of thought that allows us to feel comfortable about who we are. You know?
There's something that happens in the brain.
Yeah.
At the level of neuroscience, there's something that happens in the brain when you believe something long enough.
Right.
Over and over and over again.
Right.
And you go into communities where people share your belief.
Mm-hmm.
And you become uncomfortable in communities where people do not share your belief. And you get that confirmation bias fed back to you.
Right.
And that pattern of thinking is based on structures that actually do change in the brain. We know that you believe certain things and you become entrenched in that. It actually is difficult. Even if you could see, hey, I understand reasonably, this is not true. Reasonably, this is not the case. It would still be threatening. You would feel that threat.
Right.
And it would be hard to change your mind.
So what's being threatened is the patterns that we've built in our brain. And to change that is changing my whole life, right? It's changing who I think I am. And to ask that to change, I can understand why that would be threatening.
Yeah, your body treats that as if it's a predator.
Right. Your body actually is
it really is threat. You see people.
Physical threat, yeah. Let's say, okay, I'm letting go of everything I believe in, and I'm going to be open to what then? Because if I don't believe in something, right, something that we need to understand through our intellect.
You can explore intellectuality. You can study philosophy. You can try out meditation practices. You can look into psychedelics. There's a lot of different ways that you could go.
Right.
Stuff that you could explore. Still, in all of those things, there's going to be the temptation to go, oh, I found it. Oh, I got it now. And then just create a new structure that your brain goes, oh, this is rock solid. Because when you let go of that structure of certainty, it creates a kind of a void. And in that void, there is existential angst, insecurity, uncomfortability, wanting something to grab onto.
I mean, maybe even people who don't care. Oh, I don't believe in any of that, right? But if we really start getting into details of why, that might even be a threat, because we're used to not believing in anything. But we're talking about something that we're really interested in investigating. What is causing us to feel defensive about our beliefs?
It's the same basic process, whether you adhere to a guru and you say, I'm going to find my truth in that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as a fundamentalist who says, the Bible's the only way and I'm going to find my truth in that. And then furthermore, an atheist is not necessarily exempt. You can hold atheism by faith and not believe in God by faith and be completely closed off to anyone who has any concept of God and be threatened by religion the same way that religions are threatened by you. It would be really naive to say, I got it down pat in your 20s or your 30s or even your 40s or 50s or 60s, because the universe is millions of years old and we're here for a blip and we're trying to understand, and that process is valuable. However, you can't just short circuit the process with certainty and say, "Oh, I got it." So dialogue is important, even when it's uncomfortable. Talking to a variety of people. That way we get out of our box. We get out of our shell.
Is this false or is this true? And if this is true, okay, then I guess we can call truth this moment. But once we try to really define as what it is outside of what we're doing now, we're talking about something that's here, not something that's happening through this everything. We're talking about something we've lodged in here as a definition of what truth is. You know.
Language is a system of symbols.
Yeah.
The goal is that they correspond with some reality. Either a reality out there or a reality that's in your imagination that you are trying to communicate to the other person. A kind of linguistic convenience, a kind of pragmatic, hey man, I'm going to call this a hand, even though now it's a fist. Even though now it's a hand, now it's a fist. Right? The word fist, when does the fist become the hand? Right? Can you locate when? But still, that doesn't mean this is not a fist.
Right.
That doesn't mean this is not a hand. But it means you recognize where the words blur, where the symbols are no longer working for you. And then the ability to just see it is the ability to not be caught up in the symbols being reality, but to recognize the actual purpose of the symbols.
So this, it's almost like we're talking about is, I wouldn't call it independent, but just a very sincere, authentic way of seeing one's experience, rather than being led by a doctrine or wanting to follow what someone is saying. Actually being willing to participate and at the same time having the wherewithal to be one's own investigator would have to question pretty much everything.
That's why it's important to rebel. And that's why it is
that's
why it's important to get confused.
Right. Yeah.
So you undergo this quest. It doesn't necessarily have to even mean that you go anywhere.
Yeah.
It just means that you are crossing some sort of threshold subjectively in which you enter into the unknown. And with that confusion, with that unknowing, there's a certain sense of adventure and anticipation that you don't want to squelch too quickly, you know. So keep some of the confusion, keep some of the skepticism, keep some of the I don't know.